No, he's out of health and safety protocols. There were some final tests this morning, and he was on the field doing some stuff. He came late. So I would expect, I haven't had a follow-up conversation. But I would expect that he's available tomorrow.
And Salcedo's the one apart from Ralph?
Yes. Caden, is that okay? What's going on there?
Yeah, the decision at halftime the other day was based upon a feeling that the turnaround from midweek for him, 70 plus minutes to Vancouver, that he didn't seem physically at his best. And subsequently a little tightness in the lower leg. And so I don't expect him to be available tomorrow.
What's your take on Orlando, Bob? They have, as you know, they've got a couple of new DPs, a big Austrian forward who looks like he's a physical presence. What's your take on Orlando?
Orlando in the last few years has been a experienced, good, solid team. Some just guys, you know, when you look at where they come from, what they've done, some experienced, good players. Kara is another version of that kind of guy. Oscar's a good coach. They're always well organized. So a difficult opponent, a good team, or just a good team that's always hard to play against.
Over the last 4 games during this losing streak, I think the team has only led in games for a combined 26 minutes of those 4 games. Does playing from behind, does that, I don't know, how does that sort of change things in terms of the team? Does it sort of put pressure to make things more difficult?
Yeah, John, I just don't, you know, in the course of a season, I think I've said this at some point, you want to be a team that knows how to start games. And you want to, and you want to be a team that then in some way, based upon the opponent, home, away, takes the right type of initiative in the game. In a perfect world, that would mean you play in their end and you start to have control. You're not always able to do that. You know, if I look at the last 4 games, yeah, oddly enough, in NYCFC in an away game, I actually thought we did it right. You know, in the early part of the game, in the first 15 minutes, going up 1-0, playing in their end, how we went about things. So I think there are moments, even in tough situations, we do that. You know, the home game in Cincinnati, I think we had a fair amount of control, and don't think right from the start we were dangerous enough, but still, you know, that game turned later in the half. The next game is just, yeah, it's everything you know, you try to stay away from. It's an early goal and a red card. So, you know, all of a sudden you're fighting uphill. And then, you know, overall, there were positives in the way we went about the game with Vancouver. So again, I don't look at the number of minutes per se that we were behind. And I look at what all those games entailed. You know, there were critical moments where we had the chance to go ahead in the last game and we didn't. And then late in the game, you know, in a situation where we're now up the field, a series of moments, you know, starting with, depends when you want to start, but if you go in the later part, you know, the ball that comes loose outside the box and Kosi's decision to shoot, and then now the ball, how it comes loose, and just some of our reactions in transition. So it's a series of moments that the next thing you know, you've given up a late goal. On a day like that, it feels really bad because, you know, I think there were enough things that we did well in that game to take some points.
you've talked about defending as being a team-wide concept, but your back line there haven't been too much consistency to it with injuries and red cards and things like that.
Mhm.
But on one side, you've got everybody to come in and play, so they've got experience. But on the other side, it's hard getting consistency. How do you view that?
You have to, I look closely at the type of situations that lead to goals. And again, the one I just mentioned is a situation where structurally, when we went forward at that moment, we were in pretty good shape. You know, the positioning of our team behind the ball, the bracketing of the box when the ball came loose. But then there's a moment where we, you know, again, if Cozy hits a great shot, if he hits it up in the corner, if he just misses it and goes over the top. But now it happens that his shot goes sort of to Tybert, who swings at it, and it goes immediately to Gold, and Gold makes a great touch and starts to move up. And then in that moment, I think we have possibilities that we can, in different moments, do better with how we handle that part of transition. All right. So look, I look at what are we doing when we have the ball? What is our structure behind the ball when we lose it? And then how are we handling some of these moments in transition? We've had a couple of late where you know, when Cavallini plays the ball inside to Gold and then takes off, Lucas is in good position. But Lucas's ability in that moment to realize that, look, this is what's happening. You know, he's running, and when he turned, it's not like Cavallini had to immediately run by him. So there's just a moment there where, so for Luca, I don't know if I said Luca, that's Lucas. But, you know, in that moment, now that's a play where you hope that you know, that's a little bit similar to the play in Cincinnati, right? So again, these are learning moments. Now, does that mean that everything's gone haywire to get to that point? No, but those are plays that happen in games. You know, I showed these guys a play between in the second leg of Real Madrid and Man City, you know, where the structure of their back line on a quick turnover is all over the place, way worse than the position that we were in. But then Walker just had a pure reaction to run with Vinicius, and you know, and so look, I think we're working through our ability to handle different situations and make plays. Yes, we have had to make changes. We've had guys get tested, you know, as young players, sometimes in new positions. It's part of the work of this group to become a better team, you know, and again, I'm not throughout this season spend time talking about the past, because look, the things that went on, decisions that were made, that's behind us. And so now you move forward with the group you have. And, you know, in a general way, what I have said over and over is just that as we entered this season, opportunities for young guys, new players coming in, a lot to try to get on the same page, and we're working on it. So that's how I view the whole thing.
And sorry, I don't know if you mentioned today, Salcedo's good to go. He's out training, so he's
Yes.
After maybe not the best start for DeAndre, he seems to, the last 4 games, he seems to have really sort of rebounded quite nicely.
Yeah, I think so.
Including scoring his first goal. What's been your impression of the way he's bounced back?
Yeah, really happy for him. It's what you want to see in a young player. He had a good preseason. We talked about that. Got an opportunity to start in the first game. That wasn't his best 45 minutes. And then he hit a little bit of a wall with some injuries, little things, not big things. And so there was a moment in there where he kind of he dropped. You know, he wasn't training every day. And this is new going through that for young guys. And I really like the way we've tried to talk him through it. We've tried to make sure he knows that we think he's got some really good starting points, and his response has been excellent. And so I'm really happy for him. So he's shown some good things, I think.
Do you envision any TFC2 players being called up on loan for tomorrow, or is that still?
Without going into detail, you have to also understand there are rules about how often guys can get called up and things like that. So again, that all gets, and there are rules then on if guys are on our roster, how many of them could play in the second game, in the TFC2 game.
Oh, right.
So there's a lot of different things that we are considering. So yes, I do think that there are some call-ups. But again, the final decision on how many and who ends up on that list and who doesn't, there's a lot of different, I'll just use the word factors that come into play with that stuff.
It's kind of a lot of juggling you have to do when you think about it.
Yeah, in the moment, that's
Health and
easy.
safety protocols,
That's an easy way to say. Yeah, there's a lot going on. That's true.
and- being diplomatic.
Oh, me too.
We have a few questions from online. We'll go to Steve Buffrey first.
Okay.
The fact that you've had to call up TFC2 players the last few weeks, and everybody knows that your team is waiting for
Let's
some
See
new
where
guys
we
this
are
summer.
in the Zoom
Can you hear me?
world.
You hear me?
Now we can hear you, Steve.
Thanks. Like you guys just mentioned, there's been a bunch of games recently where you've had to call up some TFC2 guys, and everybody knows that this team is waiting on some reinforcements, if you will, this summer. Is it irritating to you at all that you've had to play a bunch of games shorthanded, and sort of, whether you can sugarcoat it, but you're being forced to use probably some young players that you probably generally wouldn't use at this point? I mean, has that been a source of, anger or irritation or resentment or anything to you?
Just put it in the category that the challenges in the first part of the season that we, in some cases, we were ready for. And then when you get a number of different injuries or health and safety protocols hitting at the same time, it makes it a little bit more challenging.
We have James Grossi up next.
Thanks, Nick. Hey, Bob. 3 games before the international break comes up. I'm wondering how you're eyeing this little stretch and that 2 weeks off.
Yeah, I mean, in the moment, the focus has just been on trying to take lessons from every game and apply them for the next game, and find ways to continue to grow and get better. Try to help the group feel some success again. So I haven't really looked past everything. When we get towards that international break, we also have the June 4th 2020 Canada Cup game with Forge. Before that, we have a quarterfinal 2022 Canada Cup game in Halifax. So again, I look mostly at the short term, mostly at the next game, think about where we are with each guy. The idea then that after June 4th, we have a weekend off. Yes, we've discussed the schedule in there, one that gives guys a little bit of a break, but also keeps us going so that we can take advantage of that period. So that's how we kind of thought through things from our end.
We have Michael Singh next.
Thanks. Hey, Bob. I imagine with a number of guys out for tomorrow's match, there'll be a big opportunity for perhaps Ralph Priso to come in and maybe even redeem himself and show that he's learned something from his incident last week, right?
Yeah. As a coach, I never use words like redeem. You're trying to help young guys grow, and yes, you are trying to help them learn from different experiences. Ralph was out for a while, and for sure, he felt badly after the the early red card. Everybody supports him around here. And now we're ready to keep going with him. It's a young player that came off of a difficult injury, and we're really, we believe that he can be a really good player. So we're excited to get him back on the field.
And our final question will be with Anthony Curie.
Thanks, Nick. Hey, Bob. In terms of tenure with the Toronto FC first team, Jayden Nelson was one of the more experienced on the pitch against Vancouver. Even at just 19 years of age, have you seen him start to step up as a leader at all in training and in the locker room?
Our young guys are really good guys. Everybody really likes them. I think what we're all trying to do with them is to help them grow as professionals, help them understand little things that they need to do better, help them understand the challenges of coming in every day with the right mentality, help them see the things that they need to work on every day in order to get to the next level. So, yeah, Jayden's probably not yet like a leader in the team. I hope that will come, just like I hope that there's others that as they get more experience are ready to step up, ready to do more, ready to add more to the team. I feel the progress has been steady. I mentioned sometimes that he makes plays that still, can be exciting and that can catch your eye, but there's still some part of the consistency. One of the reasons I was disappointed that this goal was disallowed is because, he had a little bit of a stretch in the middle of the second half the other day where some of his decisions, some of his passes, some of his attempts at dribbling, they weren't as good as we need. And then as coaches, we make decisions in certain moments about, just because a guy makes a couple of bad passes, that then you show confidence in him. And in one of the moments where the team was over by the sideline, I was saying, come on, man, keep going. You can raise the level, make a difference. And then he gets a goal only to see it disallowed. So, I still think it's just the work with these guys to try to help them understand, what it's like, how you become a real pro, how you become someone that in better games makes a difference. So that would be my thoughts as to where we are with Jayden.
Bob, can I just ask one more? Do you have a sense with Oso? Are we talking weeks here? There's some international matches coming up that a lot of Canadian fans would be interested in his.
He's on the field, so I think we're close. So I couldn't give you an exact date. He's not in the full part of training, but he's on the field doing things. So for me, that's a good sign.
Thank you.